There is a kind of breaking that doesn't make noise. It doesn't happen in front of others. It doesn't ask for help. It happens quietly, behind closed doors, late at night, in moments no one witnesses. You are not weak for breaking this way. You are simply someone who learned how to survive without being held. Many women learned early that strength meant silence, that tears should be postponed, that collapse was only allowed in private. So you learned to function, to show up, to keep going even when something inside you was already tired. And yet, the fact that you break in private tells us something important. Tells us that your heart never shut down. It only waited for a space where it felt safe enough to soften. We, the Pleiadians, recognize this pattern clearly. We work within the emotional field of women who carried their pain inward, believing it was safer there. And if you are listening now, it is not because you are broken beyond repair. It is because something in you is ready not to be strong again, but to begin again gently without forcing yourself back into armor. At some point, you realized that breaking openly didn't feel safe. Maybe no one knew how to hold you. Maybe your emotions were misunderstood. Maybe you were told, directly or silently, that you were too much. So you adapted. You learned how to fall inward instead of outward, how to gather your tears and wait, how to steady your voice before anyone noticed the tremor. This wasn't a failure. It was intelligence. It was the nervous system choosing protection over exposure. But what once protected you may now be costing you something. Because when you always break alone, you also begin again alone, and the heart grows tired of rebuilding itself in isolation. We, the Pleiadians, observe this moment carefully. This is usually where healing pauses, not because the woman cannot continue, but because she has never been shown another way. Your emotional field has been in a state of quiet vigilance for a long time, always ready, always contained, always composed. So let me ask you something gently, not to answer aloud, but to feel. What if beginning again does not require you to be strong this time? What if it only requires you to stop holding yourself so tightly? If this question touched something in you, you can let it be known even with a single word below. Sometimes the heart softens simply by being seen. Beginning again does not mean going back to who you were before you broke. It does not mean rebuilding the same life, the same patterns, the same expectations placed on your heart. For many women, this is the most confusing part, because you don't want to collapse anymore, but you also don't want to return to the version of yourself who endured everything in silence. So you pause. You feel something ending, but you don't yet know what is allowed to begin. This is not stagnation. This is a threshold. We, the Pleiadians, work precisely in this space, the moment where the soul loosens its grip on survival, but has not yet learned the language of restoration. Your emotional field is not asking for effort now. It is asking for permission. Permission to rest without guilt. Permission to soften without fear. Permission to begin again without proving anything to anyone. Because the truth is, you did not break because you were fragile. You broke because you carried too much for too long without being met. And what needs healing is not your strength, but the belief that strength is the only way you are allowed to exist. So if you feel unsure, if you don't know who you are becoming yet, that is not a failure of identity. It is the nervous system slowly realizing that it no longer needs to stay contracted to survive. Beginning again starts here, not with clarity, but with a quiet release of pressure inside the chest. This is where beginning again stops being an idea and becomes something the body can recognize, not as motivation, not as optimism, but as a subtle release of internal pressure. We, the Pleiadians, work within the emotional field of restoration, especially with women who learned to collapse in silence and rebuild themselves without witness. A heart that breaks in private does not need to be pushed forward. It needs permission to soften without consequence. As you listen now, bring your awareness gently to your chest. Notice the place where effort has been held for too long, the place that learned to tighten before anyone noticed the ache. Beginning again does not require strength. It requires coherence. This is why writing matters. When you give words to an inner permission, the emotional system receives a signal of safety. It tells the body that this shift is real, not imagined. That is how restoration stabilizes. So if this message resonated with you, write in the comments, "I allow myself to begin again," not as a promise to the future, but as recognition of what is already unfolding. Beginning again does not mean starting from nothing. It means starting from truth. And truth does not need force. It only needs to be acknowledged.